The council chamber was built to awe. A cathedral of glass and alloy, its vaulted ceiling shimmered with starlight projected from the core of the capital world. Delegates of 50 civilizations sat upon tiered platforms, their voices a constant hum of debate, suspicion, and arrogance. And at the heart of it all stood Ambassador Marcus Reeve of Earth, solitary, calm, and vastly outnumbered. He had warned them. For months he had come before these gilded halls, his voice steady, his words clear. There are threats moving in the dark between the stars, threats older than your empires, threats you dismiss because they have not yet touched your borders. But the council laughed. Humanity, they said, was new to the stars, barely a century past combustion drives, young, reckless, loud. The elders of the galaxy listened to Reeve's words as one listens to a child's tale, entertaining but irrelevant. Now the sky burned, alarms shattered the chamber's solemnity. A deep rumble shook the ground as the first plasma strike hit the city above. The starfield projected on the ceiling flickered, replaced by tactical feeds. An armada had pierced the system's defenses with terrifying precision. Dark, serrated warships descended through the atmosphere, their hulls absorbing fire as if it were mist. The council erupted into chaos. Voices screeched, wings flared, mandibles clattered. Entire delegations scrambled for the exits, and yet, Reeve did not move. He stood in the center, hands folded behind his back, his tailored black suit unruffled despite the tremors. His expression was not fear nor surprise. It was patience, as if he had been waiting for this moment. High Chancellor Irix, a scaled being whose species had once enslaved 3 galaxies, turned on him with eyes blazing. "This is your fault. Human, you brought this doom upon us." Reeve's gaze did not shift. His voice cut through the din, calm as steel. "No, this is your fault. I warned you. You mocked Earth's warnings as paranoia. You refused to prepare. Now you reap what arrogance has sown." Another impact thundered through the chamber. A great crack spidered across the crystalline dome overhead. Senators shrieked. Dignitaries pressed against one another, their bodies trembling. The invaders had reached the capital itself. A transmission broke through the chaos, projected into the center of the chamber. The alien warlord's visage filled the air, a skeletal being, its armor carved from the bones of conquered foes. Its voice was jagged metal. "Galactic Council, your reign ends today. We come not to parley but to erase. None will survive." Silence followed. Even the most arrogant of species felt despair seep into their bones. The council's guards, brave as they were mere ceremony compared to what descended upon them. The galaxy's rulers were about to be extinguished. Then Reeve spoke again, his voice a whisper, but it carried to every ear. "You thought I came here alone," the warlord sneered on the hologram. "You are one man, human. Your species is nothing." Reeve's lips curled in the faintest smile. "I never am." Above the burning skyline, reality itself seemed to tear. Vast rifts of blue light split open across the stratosphere, shimmering like the ocean under a midday sun. From those rifts emerged shadows, enormous, sleek, angular shadows that blotted out the stars. Human warships. Not the clumsy vessels the galaxy remembered from Earth's first fumbling steps into space, but leviathans of black alloy, bristling with weapons no alien had ever catalogued. They came in silence, their hulls drinking starlight, their engines whispering rather than roaring. And then they fired. Lances of coherent energy scythed through the invader fleet. Entire cruisers folded in on themselves, imploding into molten shards. Missiles streaked like falling suns, each splitting into dozens of micro-warheads that wove a net of annihilation. The council delegates gasped as their tactical feeds lit up with destruction. The unstoppable invaders were being torn apart like paper before a storm. Reeve's voice cut through the stunned silence. Earth learned long ago never to send its sons and daughters undefended. Where we walk prepared. You dismissed us as children. Children don't build fleets like these. Another strike rocked the planet, but this time it was not the invaders striking. It was Earth's counterfire, vaporizing hostile drop pods before they could touch the capital's soil. The alien warlord howled across the transmission, rage and disbelief mingling. "Impossible! You had no fleets here. We scouted this system." Reeve finally looked at him, eyes hard as obsidian. "You saw what we wanted you to see. Humanity does not show its teeth until it must bite. The chambers..." Delegates stared, their arrogance unraveling into awe and terror. Species that had lorded over humanity for centuries now clutched their robes and whispered, voices trembling. One elder delegate, feathers shivering, croaked out, You saved us." Reeve's gaze swept across the mall. "No, we saved ourselves. You just happened to be standing under the umbrella." The battle outside raged for less than 20 minutes. 20 minutes, and an armada that had crippled entire star systems was reduced to drifting wreckage and molten rain. The Council's homeworld was scorched, yes, but intact. Its rulers alive. When the last invader vessel detonated in the upper atmosphere, silence fell once more in the chamber. The kind of silence that came when one realized the universe had shifted beneath their feet. Reeve stepped forward, his shoes clicking on the crystal floor. His voice was calm, but every word struck like a hammer. "Understand this. Humanity does not seek war. We came to this council in good faith. We warned you, and you ignored us. But never mistake patience for weakness. Never mistake diplomacy for helplessness. And never, never believe a human stands alone." The chamber, filled with the most powerful rulers of the galaxy, did not answer. They could only watch the man from Earth, a single envoy whose shadow now seemed to stretch across the stars. Outside, the last human warship drifted into formation, its hull gleaming with the light of 1,000 fires. And for the first time in history, the Galactic Council feared and respected the children of Earth. The chamber of the Galactic Council was a monument to dominance. It rose like a crown in the heart of the capital world, a vast dome of crystal and alloy, bathed in the light of suns collected from 1,000 systems. Within its walls, empires, older than Earth, debated, conspired, and judged. For centuries, they had ruled unchallenged, and tonight, they judged humanity. Ambassador Darius Holt of Earth stood alone at the center platform. Tall, broad-shouldered, streaks of gray cutting through his dark hair, he bore himself not like a politician, but like a soldier. And indeed, he had been one. Scars beneath his suit whispered of battles long before diplomacy. But the Council saw only an upstart envoy, a representative of a species they mocked as reckless children. "You humans destabilize the border regions," one insectoid senator hissed, wings clattering. "You flaunt our treaties with your colonies," another croaked. "Expansionists, aggressors, you dare to speak here as equals when you should kneel." Holt endured it in silence, his jaw tightening only slightly. He had learned long ago that words from these beings mattered little. They had power only because no one had challenged them. Not yet. He spoke at last, his voice low, calm, carrying weight that silenced the clamor. "Humanity came to the Council in good faith. We sought peace, trade, cooperation. You dismissed our words. You dismissed our warnings. That is your mistake, not ours." Laughter rippled through the tears, bitter, mocking. The chamber walls echoed with arrogance, but the laughter died when the alarms screamed. The dome above dimmed. Tactical overlays flared into being. Hostile fleets had dropped out of slip space within the system, massive, serrated ships blacker than the void. Their weapons lit the sky as planetary shields cracked like glass. The invaders struck with surgical precision. Defense platforms fell silent in seconds. Entire orbital stations shattered into fire. Dropships pierced the atmosphere, burning trails across the heavens, and the council panicked. Delegates shrieked. Guards scrambled. Dignitaries who had moments ago thundered with arrogance now cowered behind barriers, their bodies trembling. The chamber doors buckled under explosive charges. Enemy soldiers, tall, spined marauders with eyes burning crimson, stormed inside, weapons blazing. The council's guards fell in moments, and through the chaos, Darius Holt did not move. He closed his eyes, touched the small comm bead in his ear, and whispered a single phrase. Protocol Aegis. The chamber shook. Beneath their feet, gears older than anyone realized groaned to life. Hidden panels burst open across the marble floor. From the depths below rose armored titans. Human exosuits, black and crimson, their frames bristling with cannons and blades. Each stood 3 meters tall, their visors glowing like molten gold. They had been waiting. Sleeping beneath the council's chamber, hidden in silence, the marauders roared, charging forward. Plasma fire screamed across the chamber, and the human guardians answered. Their weapons thundered, tearing invaders apart in storms of molten shards. Cannons spat precision bursts that burned through armor as if it were paper. One titan surged forward, its blade arm cleaving through 3 marauders in a single motion. Another raised a shield that absorbed enemy fire and hurled it back in a wave of searing light. The chamber became a battlefield. Marble shattered. Banners of ancient empires caught fire. Screams and gunfire mingled in chaos. And still, Darius. Holt stood unmoved, his guardians forming a ring around him. The marauder warlord strode into the chamber then, a giant clad in jagged armor, his voice a metallic roar. "Human! You think toys will save you? We will tear this council apart and you with it!" Holt's eyes opened. His voice was steady, unflinching. "No. You walked into our trap. You came hunting prey, but found soldiers bound by oath." He stepped forward now, his figure framed by the blaze of war. "Do you know what it means when Earth sends an envoy? It means this. Where one of us stands, all of us stand. Where one falls, all rise. No diplomat of Earth is ever alone." His words echoed like thunder. The Titans roared with him, their visors blazing brighter, their cannons firing in perfect unity. They surged forward, sweeping the chamber clean of marauders. The warlord roared and struck, but Holt himself drew. A weapon from his coat, a compact rail pistol that cracked the air like a lightning storm. The shot tore through the warlord's chest, hurling him to the floor in a cascade of sparks and blood. The battle outside raged as human warships revealed themselves, decloaking from positions across the system. Sleek, angular vessels, armed with weapons the Council had never catalogued, fell upon the invader fleet with merciless precision. In less than an hour, the armada that had once toppled star systems was reduced to drifting wreckage and burning. Husks. The chamber lay in ruins. Cracked stone, burning banners, bodies of marauders scattered like discarded armor. The delegates, trembling, stared at the man from Earth. One feathered elder whispered hoarsely, "You saved us." Holt's gaze swept across them, cold as iron. "No. Humanity saved its own. You were simply in the blast radius of our oath." He stepped onto the central platform, the flames casting his figure in stark silhouette. His guardians stood behind him, their armor steaming, their weapons still glowing. "Listen well," Holt said, his voice carrying to every trembling ear. "Humanity does not seek war. But if you force our hand, if you endanger our people, then you will learn what this oath means. We may be one envoy standing in your chamber, but behind him stands an army. Behind him stands Earth. The council, rulers of galaxies, bowed their heads in silence. For the first time in memory, they felt not dominance, but fear and respect. The galaxy would never look at Earth the same way again. The council chamber was a mountain of pride carved into stone and steel. Its walls were lined with banners of empires older than humanity itself, each symbol a reminder of supremacy and dominion. Beneath the banners, delegates gathered in tiers, feathered, scaled, furred, and chitinous, their voices layering into a storm of accusations, and at the very center of that storm sat Ambassador Sarah Calder of Earth. She was still, too still. Where other ambassadors shifted restlessly, their limbs twitching with agitation, Sarah sat like carved obsidian, hands folded on the polished table. Her face was unreadable. Her eyes followed the debate, but she gave no sign of irritation. As yet another speaker, a reptilian senator from the Draki Dominion, spat venom at her. "Humanity expands like a virus," he hissed. "You consume worlds, strip their resources, and push your colonies to the edge of our borders. You destabilize the balance that has held for millennia. You are children playing with knives, and we will all bleed for your recklessness." Others joined in, emboldened. "Yes, they bring chaos. Earth's arrogance will doom us all. Humans claim to seek peace, yet they build ships bristling with weapons." Sarah endured it in silence. She did not argue. She did not defend. She merely watched. When at last the din settled, she rose. Her voice was soft, almost quiet, yet it carried through the chamber with unshakable clarity. Earth has extended a hand in friendship. We have offered trade, cooperation, and alliance, yet you see only threats. You mistake preparedness for aggression. You mistake resolve for arrogance, and you mistake patience for weakness. A wave of muttering spread across the chamber, but before any reply could come, the alarms sounded. A deep, resonant wail shook the crystal domes above. Red light flooded the chamber. The council's feeds lit up with tactical overlays, enemy ships descending into orbit, cutting through defenses, as if they were parchment. Sleek vessels, cloaked until the last moment, fell upon the capital with brutal precision. They bypassed the outer patrols, pierced planetary shields, and unleashed a storm of fire. The chamber erupted into chaos. Delegates shrieked, some fluttering upward in panic, others clawing for exits. The ground itself shook as orbital bombardments struck the surface. The great Galactic Council, rulers of half the known stars, had been caught utterly unprepared. A holographic broadcast filled the air. The attackers revealed themselves. The Vorkon marauders, scourge of border worlds, long dismissed by the Council as a minor nuisance. Their warlord sneered, his armored mandibles dripping blood. "Galactic Council, today your empire dies. Your arrogance made you weak. We will burn your worlds and scatter your ashes. None will be spared." Despair spread like a plague through the chamber. Delegates clutched one another, their authority crumbling in the face of annihilation. The capital world, jewel of the galaxy, would fall within the hour. And through it all, Sarah Calder stood in silence. When she finally spoke, her voice was steady, too steady. "You still don't understand?" The words cut through the panic. Dozens of eyes turned to her, confusion etched on alien faces. Sarah's gaze was steady, almost sorrowful. "I told you Earth does not stand alone. I told you we walk with allies. Did you think that meant only words?" A tremor shook the chamber, but this time it was not from the enemy bombardment. It was something beneath them, deep, mechanical awakening. The polished marble floor split apart. Massive panels retracted with a groan, revealing vaults that no council architect remembered designing. From those vaults rose armored giants, human war machines cloaked in black plating, eyes glowing crimson. They towered over the delegates, their weapons humming with lethal power. Gasps and screams echoed through the chamber. Some ambassadors staggered back, thinking these machines were new attackers. But when the Marauders' first breaching teams stormed the grand doors, the truth revealed itself. The human guardians moved as one. Their cannons roared. Plasma bolts seared through the invading soldiers, reducing them to ash before they could raise their weapons. Blade-armed brutes rushed forward and were cut down in a storm of gunfire. The machines formed an unbreakable wall around Sarah Calder, each step calculated, each movement precise. They had been here all along, waiting, watching, hidden in silence. The Vorkon warlord on the broadcast snarled in disbelief. "What trick is this? You hid weapons beneath the council's floor?" Sarah's eyes met his, cold and unblinking. "No, I hid guardians. Earth never sends its envoys undefended." Above, the storm only grew. The Vorkon fleet darkened the skies, their bombardment carving scars into the capital. But as flames licked the horizon, the skies themselves shifted. Clouds tore open as shapes descended. Not enemy drop pods, but human warcraft, sleek and angular. Cloaked until this very moment, they dropped from orbit like spears of light, unleashing precise fire that tore apart the Marauders' formations. The Vorkon fleet faltered. The chamber's feeds lit up as Earth's hidden forces revealed themselves. Warships that had slipped past detection grids, orbital cannons disguised as satellites, ground units that had been sleeping beneath the capital's streets for months. The council watched, speechless, as the battle shifted. Where the Vorkon thought they faced prey, they had, in truth, charged. Headlong into a fortress humanity had prepared with quiet, ruthless foresight. Sarah Calder stood amidst the thunder, her hair rippling in the shock waves, her face serene. "Humanity does not bluff. We warned you. We asked you to prepare. You mocked us instead, so we prepared for you." On the battlefield, the tide turned in minutes. The Vorkon fleet, once overwhelming, now found itself in a slaughterhouse. Human ships outmaneuvered them with terrifying efficiency, cutting their command vessels to ribbons, isolating their wings, and burning them from the skies. Within the chamber, the last of the Marauders fell, torn apart by the silent guardians. The floor was slick with ash and molten metal. The air stank of ozone. And in the middle of it all stood Sarah Calder, untouched. When the final explosion echoed across the skies and the feeds confirmed victory, silence reclaimed the chamber, not the silence of panic, but of revelation. Delegates stared at her. For the first time, their eyes held not arrogance, but something closer to awe. One elder, his frills drooping, whispered, "You saved us." Sarah's expression did not soften. "No, we saved ourselves. You simply stood close enough to share our shield." She stepped forward, her voice low but sharp as a blade. "Understand this. Humanity does not seek war. We came to offer peace. But if you mistake our quiet for weakness, if you threaten us or those we choose to protect, then you will discover what all predators eventually learn. The silent ones are the most dangerous." Her guardians shifted around her, their weapons cooling, their armor dripping with sparks. Behind them, the banners of empires long dominant fluttered weakly in the artificial breeze. For the first time, in living memory, the Council saw Earth not as an upstart species, but as something far more unsettling, a shadow in the room that had been there all along. And they finally understood, no human diplomat ever walked alone.